Hello, this is the Focusrite Saffire Pro 40. This was purchased about 13 years ago to record my choir concerts in conjunction with Pro Tools on an older MacBook Pro. So today I wanted to show you how I've revived this I/O for use with Zoom conferencing and a slightly newer MacBook Pro. This is a 2015 and it's running the Sierra OS. I basically a few weeks ago called up Sweetwater and tried to find out if it was compatible with this older machine. Now keep in mind, this is a FireWire 400 port, and this model MacBook Pro has the Thunderbolt 2 input. So you got to figure, how am I going to get this over here and how am I going to get it to work? I read up on some hardware and connections and found that there were some compatibility issues. And so I called up Sweetwater, and my sales rep there got me this Apple. It's a FireWire 800 to Thunderbolt 2. And then this cable right here is this is FireWire 800 and then FireWire 400 plugging into the back of the Focusrite Saffire 40 Pro. Now this is overkill because this particular module is quite powerful. I mean, it's really meant for multi-channel recording and use for studio use for sending mixes to musicians using headphones or monitors in separate rooms. It really has a lot of power, but we weren't using it for Pro Tools anymore, and I didn't want to go out and spend a bunch of money for a 1 or 2 input I/O box to do Zoom conferencing and have a good audio quality. And that's what led to this quest to reviving this Saffire Pro 40. Anyway, we're using a Studio Projects C3. These are low to mid-level large diaphragm recording mics. We use these again for choir concerts, and they have a really good sound. And that's plugged into input 1, which is the only input I'm using. And that's basically it. I'm going to go into the software functions now. All right, so this is the Saffire Pro 40 mix control. When you download the drivers for the Saffire Pro 40, this will come up, and it does need to be running in the beginning, but once it's configured, it sort of runs in the background when you turn on the actual Saffire box. So just that you know this exists, and there really isn't anything you need to do to it unless, of course, you're using this in the studio. Then you need to learn this mix control, which is pretty extensive. FYI, I have not learned how to use this mix control because we didn't need to. We were using Pro Tools, and the Pro Tools program actually did the inputs and the output function control for us. Okay, so there's a few other things I need to do in order to get my Saffire I/O working for Zoom. And the first one is in System Preferences, Sound. I'll need to make sure that these two inputs and outputs are set correctly. So right now it's set for the input internal microphone, but I want to set that to the Saffire so that my external microphone that I'm using with the I/O box is functioning. Then for output, I'm also going to want to set that to Saffire. So that way it's coming through my headphones, and that's really important. So now I have them both set here. Also, you'll notice on the audio devices, which you also find in the utilities folder of your Mac, it comes up as having already used Zoom, so it's considering the Zoom audio device as one of the routing patterns. Normally in a in a Saffire mix configuration, your digital audio workstation would be your routing device, but Zoom is acting as that right now, and I'll show you how that happens. So let's just put this aside for a second and let's launch Zoom. Okay, and then let's just go in here and go to the settings, the audio settings. So right now it says built-in microphone, and I don't want that. I want my Saffire to be used. So there's my Saffire. It's much nicer sounding, especially for teaching music. And also in voice lessons or piano lessons, instruments, it just tends to sound a lot nicer and have a much better dynamic range without cutting in and cutting out. Okay, this is set to built-in output, but I want to set this to my Saffire also. And now I'm hearing it actually through my headphones, which is really, really nice. So you can always test your mic and your speakers in Zoom. So you just go right here and it records you and basically plays it back so you know it's working. And then this here is the speaker, and it just plays a cute little ringtone thing. So there it is. There's the settings, okay, and the audio settings are really important. Also, you don't want to automatically adjust microphone volume when you're doing music, because then it compresses or it marginalizes the signal, and you don't want that to happen. You want to get the true dynamic range of your voice or instrument or piano. That's really important. Go to advanced too, as long as you're at it, and disable this stuff. Suppress persistent background noise. Well, you don't want to do that because then it's also suppressing some of the audio, the niceties of the audio that you're trying to replicate through your microphone. Intermittent background noise. Hopefully you don't have background noise. You want to disable that too, because again, you're sort of asking Zoom to cut out some of the frequencies and some of the niceties of the spectrum that you're creating. Echo cancellation, yeah, I've heard you can leave that on auto, and that's fine. Okay, now on the Mac audio devices panel, you see that Zoom audio device has been added, and that just happens when you launch any type of digital audio workstation or anything that routes sound in and out in terms of the way the MacBook Pro works. And that is really important because the Saffire sees that and it works to route that signal in and out, especially when it's going through your headphones. And then of course back here we see that the Saffire is the selected input and the Saffire is a selected output. Now one thing is in the Saffire mix control, I wanted to go back to this because I don't know if you remember I said that you don't need to do much to this, and that's exactly the case. Once this is loaded, it will do everything that it needs to do for you. However, don't panic if you don't hear anything from your headphones or your outputs that are coming from the Saffire box. And the reason that is because, again, you're going to need to make sure that your Zoom is active and that you have actually routed those signals through your Zoom preferences, your audio preferences. Now, once you've done that, you can leave your machine alone unless you're going to start plugging in things or unplugging it and taking it somewhere else. So as long as you have it set up and everything's plugged in, you should be able to go to every Zoom session and be able to experience the same settings no matter what, no matter how many meetings you set up or what time of the day or anything. And we'll just confirm that by going in here, audio setup, Saffire again is the speaker, and the microphone is the Saffire. So those audio settings will stay the same unless somebody else logs into your computer and changes and logs into to the Zoom app, and then in which case they'll have their settings, and you'll have to do this all over again. But it's not very difficult, and it's easy to do once you start moving in and out of these panels here. So there it is. Okay, so there it is, an older Focusrite Saffire Pro 40, revived for usage with Zoom, and saved a lot of money here. Just only had to buy the Apple dongle here and the Firewire 400 to 800 cable. Also make sure you get your 48 volt phantom power pushed, because you have to do that if you're using a condenser mic. And thanks for watching.